Today we have a brutal story about a nasty woman who got caught in one of the most awful betrayals a couple may face. After being married for over a decade, the husband discovered something on his wife's cell phone that turned his world upside down. Taking advantage of her husband's silence, this woman decided to cover herself by making up a story of abuse and manipulation. However, the truth eventually came oozing to the surface, and the consequences were devastating. I don't want to spoil any details for you, so here we go. I share this not only to get it off my chest, but also because I have no idea what I should do next. Any advice is really welcome. My wife Kelly and I have been married for over 10 years. I'm 40 and my wife is 37. We had, in my eyes, a beautiful and stable relationship. Even when we had the occasional issue, everything seemed fine. We have 2 kids, a girl aged 5 and a boy aged 8, who are the center of my world. I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with Kelly, but then I discovered that devastating truth by accident. One day, while Kelly was in the shower, her cell phone was buzzing with a lot of texts. To this day, I don't know if it was for better or for worse that I read them, but they completely shattered my world. The messages revealed that she had been cheating on me for a long time, and to top it off, the affair partner mentioned something about my kids as if they were his. When I confronted Kelly, she immediately blamed me for working too much, saying I pushed her into his arms. After reading the texts, something was bugging me so hard that I couldn't resist taking action. With a lot of fear in my heart, I decided to do a DNA test to confirm the paternity of our kids. When the results came back, I just couldn't believe my eyes as my worst fears were confirmed. I wasn't the biological father of either of them. I'm not one to cry over almost anything, but this hit me in the deepest part of my soul. As if the betrayal wasn't bad enough, Kelly decided it was a great idea to cover up her actions, spreading lies, telling everyone that I was manipulating her and trying to paint herself as the victim. She told our friends and family that I had been mistreating her, which everyone believed, but of course was entirely untrue. I didn't know what to do at the moment, so I said nothing to sway opinion differently. But the way she tried to ruin my reputation without any hesitation just to justify her actions after a decade of marriage really hurt and surprised me. Of course, she didn't tell anyone that our children, or should I say, their children, weren't mine. I felt broken and didn't know what to do or where to go, so after another fight with Kelly, when the children weren't home, I grabbed some clothes, hopped into my car, and left to stay in a motel where she wouldn't find me. The next day, I turned on my cell phone and found a lot of missed calls from her brother, Michael. I didn't feel like talking to anyone, but I decided it was time for me to speak. Before I could reply, he started screaming at me, calling me all sorts of names and threatening me. I tried not to let his words get to me, but when he called me an abusive husband, I stopped him and asked what the hell he was talking about. He said my soon-to-be ex-wife was spreading the narrative that I was physically abusing her and that she didn't have the courage to say anything until now. I just couldn't take this woman's lies one more second. I finally exploded and told Michael the real reason I left. At first, he didn't believe me, so I sent him the screenshots of the messages between her and the other guy, along with the DNA test results. He became completely silent. I told him to F off and cut the call. I ended up breaking down because the thought of not being the kid's father broke me every time someone mentioned them. 2 days later, I received a call from her parents, with whom I had a great relationship. When I picked up, they asked how I had been. I didn't say much, just told them that I was doing terrible. Her parents had called to apologize for their daughter's behavior and told me what happened after I left. When her brother received the evidence, he called Kelly immediately. Of course, she denied everything and tried to play the victim. He showed her the evidence, which she didn't know I had, and she finally confessed. When she told her parents the truth, they couldn't believe what she was saying. One thing was being unfaithful, but they couldn't conceive the false abuse claim she made about me, the father of her children until then. She ended up being kicked out of their house, taken off their will, and disowned by her parents. I honestly didn't know what to tell them, but I thanked them for the call and for some reason said sorry about not being the kid's father. Before they hung up, they told me Kelly had just found out she was pregnant again and claimed it really was my baby this time. But given her lies, they didn't believe her and advised her to leave me alone. After they hung up, I finally decided to talk to Trevor, a close friend of Kelly and me. I told him to meet me so I could tell him everything that had been going on. He listened carefully as he only knew Kelly's version of the story. At the end, I think he was even angrier than me. 2 days after, he messaged me saying he told everyone in our friend group what had really happened with the affair. She was cut off by all of her friends after confessing the abuse claim was false. I guess I should feel a little bit better, but for some reason, I don't. Since Kelly's new partner ruined my whole life, I decided to look into who he was and found out he was also married. So, I sent a text to his wife, hoping she would let me tell her my story. When I finally got a reply from her, I sent every bit of evidence I had on both of them. She told me she kicked him out of their house and is filing for a divorce that will financially ruin him. As for Kelly, she got dumped by the affair guy after his wife found out about them. So she has been sending me messages non-stop begging me to see her again. Of course, I won't until we get a divorce. I have to mention that this idiot somehow got my email, likely from Kelly, and he emailed me, threatening to beat me up if he sees me and telling me to watch my back. I sent the email to my lawyer and we're looking into getting a restraining order against him for harassment. The hardest part of all of this is the children. Even if they're not biologically mine, I have loved them as if they were since they were born. If anyone has any advice about this, I would gladly take it. I don't want anything to do with Kelly, but might still have to pay child support. I fear I will just get the financial burden and not be able to even spend time with them if things get too complicated with the divorce. It is sad to imagine that a lot of men are in a similar situation raising someone else's children and don't even know it. Be careful who you marry if you choose to marry at all. My advice for you: take good care of yourself as you are the most important person in your life, and always be prepared for whatever may come. Remember guys, you can send your amazing stories to informal.confessions@gmail.com. We read every one of them, and they might even get a video of how we imagine them. If you are still here and enjoyed the content, please consider subscribing. So, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the story. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.